If you're going to spread anything, spread the podcast. You don't have to wear a mask to listen to the podcast.
Well, that's like Boyan when he put in there, think positive, stay negative.
Yeah.
It's a thing, people. It's a thing.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax. HIPAA help is on the way.
Hi, I'm Dee Dee Dunlap from Perkins County Health Services in Grant, Nebraska, and you're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast.
Welcome to episode 286 of the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims of HIPAA for MSPs and Security First IT. And joining me is Donna Grindle of Carton. Happy New Year, Donna Grindle.
I know. It's been a while. We got ahead of ourselves recording, which was really exciting for us when we realized it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we rarely get ahead of ourselves.
I know. We're usually frantically making sure we get one done. So the last episode we recorded, there's a lot that's happened since then.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Yeah.
And so now we're going to record like 3 in 10 days. So.
Oh, wow.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I don't know. It's how we roll, right, bro?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a plan.
So,
there's a
lots
plan
happening.
to not plan.
We had planned so well, and then we did not plan for the holidays.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the other
thanks
part
for
of
the blooper show, Boyan.
Oh, yeah, the blooper show. Oh, it was so funny.
It's always interesting for us to go, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
So in our last episode that we recorded, so what our listeners would hear last week, if they're in, sequence,
Mm-hmm.
we recorded it like just before all of the news broke about SolarWinds. We recorded it when we knew FireEye had announced there was a problem.
Right.
And since that time, there's been amazing amount of information that's come launching at us. And, yeah, we got a lot. There's HIPAA stuff. There's cybersecurity stuff. There's legal stuff. I mean, there's some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're stuffed with stuff.
You've always been full of stuff. So,
Not the first time I've been told that.
yeah. Yeah, it's one of those times where you almost have to let the dust settle a little bit so you can kind of grasp better what's happening. So, otherwise we would do the SolarWinds episode every single week for a month because new stuff keeps coming out so frequently. So I know we've had people that's like, when are Dave and Donna going to talk about SolarWinds and FireEye? And,
Well, we talked about FireEye last week, but that was 2 weeks ago for us. So, wow.
Yeah.
Here's what we're talking about today, though.
Yep. Today we're going to talk about, get this now, a new HIPAA safe harbor.
Yeah.
No.
So we're going to assume a few tiny little things, but we'll get into that in a minute about assuming. But it's a good assume. Either way.
Tis true. So
we got lots of things to cover. We got to remind everybody about the virtual edition of the boot camp, February 23rd through the 25th.
yes.
So go sign up at thehippabootcamp.com. Finally, he did it.
I know.
The visual cues seem to be helping a little bit more.
I know. I can see you now.
Yeah. So for those of you who haven't gone over and checked us out on YouTube, you can, if you so desire, see us actually talking to each other. I don't know why anybody would want to see it.
Yeah, but apparently people do. We're getting,
I know. People are watching. We're getting subscribers.
Getting a few hundred views a week. So I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I think people want to see what I'm wearing. Still looking for donations for that black dress.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that because I know exactly who would do it.
Yeah, we do, and he did, and you have it. So we're looking forward to seeing that, David.
It wasn't enough.
So, and we got get more swag So 2021, we're going to have a lot of stuff going on, starting with the HIPAA boot camp, but you're about to hear about a lot of reasons that we are busy. And the things that we should be able to pull the trigger on, so to speak, to roll it out down the hill is I'm excited about it. So barring any, 2021 being jolted in February the way 2020 was, we're just going to assume that's not going to happen.
Yep.
But this whole, I'm so happy to get to a new year. You know what? 2019 sucked wind for me, and I was so happy to get to 2020. I will never think that a new year means anything other than flip the calendar.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm looking for the alien invasion this year, 2021.
Hey, we still got some time left in this year when we're recording this. Not much, but we got a little bit of time.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't write anything off.
No, you're right. All right. So in addition to the HIPAA boot camp and checking that out, you have a few more homework assignments. So 1, check us out on YouTube. Number 2, leave a review if you haven't already. 3, make sure you share Help Me with HIPAA with one person this week. If you're going to spread anything, spread the podcast. You don't have to wear a mask to listen to the podcast.
Well, that's like Boyan when he put in there, think positive, stay negative.
Yeah.
It's a thing, people. It's a thing.
Yeah, that's funny. So, but we do appreciate the support you're giving us, and we'll talk more about all these other things after a word from our sponsor.
Are you frustrated with your current IT provider? Are you sure you're getting the security and protection you need? Are you putting your patients and your practice at risk? If you're in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, give Security First IT a call to learn more about how they can protect your patients, your practice, and your bottom line. Find them online at securityfirstit.com or call 980-288-5100.
The number of medical practices that think they're HIPAA compliant is pretty staggering. Effective privacy and security are an ongoing process, not a checklist. And that's why at Cardin, they don't just assess your situation and leave you with a report, but they work with you all along the way. Call Cardin today at 678-292-5001 or visit them on the web at cardinhq.com. Aren't your patients worth it? All right, we are back. It's time for our patented HIPAA.
Say what?
Segment of the week.
Patented.
So we got a new review, which hit our feeds this week, and it is odd that the review actually asked us a question.
It didn't hit this week. When I wrote this, it was this week. But
Oh, okay. At some point between then and now, this review came in.
Yeah.
So
a lot of things happened between our last recording and now. I'm serious.
This actually came in on December 10th.
Yeah.
It appears.
Yes.
So
That's
it is from Slick Cart.
I like Slick Cart. That's a cool name.
Which I'm wondering, I almost want to see if that's an app or something because it sounds like a shopping cart thing. But anyway, title of the review is Truly a Lifesaver. 5 stars, of course. And it reads, I've been nerding out on this amazing HIPAA. Just kidding, guys. HIPAA. To assert my advocacy rights for a loved one in a long-term healthcare facility. I would love it if you guys could address the CMS 1135 waivers as it relates to patients' record rights in this COVID-19 era. Best podcast to help patient advocates yet. Thank you both.
So you're very welcome, Slick Cart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting that we've been associated with patient advocacy. So,
well, yeah, we get questions. Some questions we get that I don't include just because there's some personal information and that kind of stuff. But yeah, we get some questions that, can you help me out? And I get hit up on Quora with questions helping patients navigate what their rights are.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, though, the CMS 1135 waivers, you're just trying to push us over the edge. That is not HIPAA. That's like a boatload of stuff. But I will tell you that what those do is it allows the hospitals. And so it's not even CFR 45. It's CFR 42, I think. But it allows the hospitals to be able to move resources quickly. Let's think of it that way. So that, okay, if I can get a doctor and I need a doctor and they're not licensed in this state, but they're licensed, in South Carolina, let me get the doctor because I need the doctor. And if I need to reallocate resources from the medical records department to being able to move patients around or do intake or any of that kind of stuff, I can do that without having a commitment to have so many people available to provide all these administrative type services. And when you look at a scenario like in LA County where they have, they've literally turned the gift shop into an ICU room. And wow is all I can say. And I feel for those folks and what they're going through. I can't comprehend what it must be like, but I can say that these things are absolutely essential to even letting them get anywhere near where they are now, because the resources are so limited. And that is essentially what those 1135 waivers are all about, is allowing the flexibility within the system to work, with some of the regulations that would limit their ability to quickly respond in a disaster or a pandemic is why they're there. And, it's not about patient access rights. It's about making sure that everything gets into the medical records and the request and having people available to get the records. And so a lot of that is, the healthcare system is going to have to deal with this long term. It's going to take years for the system itself to recover, and it will never be the way it was before. None of the things that we've dealt with, we're all changed by this, but healthcare, it's a dramatic change. Mm-hmm. So as far as how we feel about those things, we know they're required. We know we have to do it. And we know that eventually records will be updated. But, when some of the nurses are like, this is like being in a war zone. I was in the military dealing with this, and this is worse. So we have to realize that that's what they're up against. And we support them and anything that we could possibly do. I'm doing my part by thinking positive and staying negative. But so these waivers, as long as those are the scenarios, but if you look at another hospital that has no real surge, issue going on, and there's fewer and fewer of those areas where we are right now, but if they're doing it and saying, well, I can just lay off those people and not provide those services, I got a problem with that. That's a little different because patient care comes first, and being able to have the records and all of those kind of things really matter. So it's directly, you mentioned the long-term care facility. So a lot of it is fact-specific determination on how I feel about it. How's that? Mm-hmm. There you go.
All right.
But there you have it. And thanks for cheering us on.
Yeah, no kidding. Yep. Ha.
Oh.
Yep. All right. That brings us to our topic for today, which is the HIPAA safe harbor, or should I say new HIPAA safe harbor?
We should say new.
So this is HIPAA very, very harbor. Interesting. This is one of those times where you and I had to get on a phone call. Like,
I know.
Check this out.
Check this out. I got to talk to you about this.
I know. This is some good stuff.
Well, because, well, first, let's just real quick hit on the fact that we did mention the last time that there's the stuff from the NPRM on changes to the privacy rule. Mm-hmm. And there's some stuff there. That's not the big news to us because the changes to the privacy rule, there are some very important areas and, promoting information disclosure. So they're trying to open those things up. Parental and caregiver involvement with the opioid and mental health issues, and limiting the amount of paperwork the notice of privacy practices require. Those are some of the big areas. And, the big thing is patient right of access. And, there's some other things in there. So, but it is not the most important thing that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So this is HR 7898 for those who follow the legal references. And we'll have a link to the official gov.gov bill so you can see the status. But, this thing was proposed in the House in July, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd heard discussions about it plenty of times.
Right.
But we all know what you do when it comes to the legal stuff. Oh, it's in Congress. Oh, yeah. Not going to waste too much effort on it. And then on December the 9th, it passed the House and went to the Senate. Still not something you get too excited about.
Right.
And I was sending stuff back and forth with Eric before we released his episode. Thanks again, Eric, for being on the show. We certainly will need you again based on this.
Yeah.
Because did you see that it might pass? And all of a sudden I get excited because I just write that stuff off until it looks good. But we did start monitoring it, and it did get through the Senate, and HR 7898 was passed in the Senate, and it is awaiting presidential signature so that it can become a new law.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're excited about.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess that you can go look it up and figure it out from there.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're done, folks.
Yeah, see you later. So what's the big deal, you might say?
Yeah, what is the big deal?
Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. What's going on?
That's exactly what that stands for.
The bill is an amendment to the High-Tech Act that essentially provides a safe harbor related to the HIPAA security rule and the enforcement of the HIPAA security rule.
Right.
And they have 3 specific things that it will impact when it comes to enforcement related to the security rule if you follow what they're calling recognized security practices.
Mm-hmm.
And David said, what is that? You might
That's
say.
exactly what I said. Tell me more
So
about
if you follow these recognized security practices and you can prove you've been doing it for 12 months.
Yeah.
That's important.
Can I backdate it?
Well, you do a risk analysis dated 2018 for me. We've both heard that, haven't we?
You know somebody's going to ask.
Yeah.
Can you make it look like we've been doing these for 12 months?
No.
No.
But the good news is if you've been working with us,
Then maybe you can.
then you could probably make the argument that, you were already down that path. We're about to take you through that. So number 1, if you can prove that you've been following these security practices, the recognized security practices for 12 months, number 1, it will mitigate fines issued if they go into the civil money penalty phase of an investigation, meaning they determine there's violations and they're going in and calculating what the civil money penalty would be, then they would take this into account. It would mitigate, Number 2, it would result in the early favorable termination of an audit. Under High-Tech requires audits, but we've only had 2 test audits, and they've been talking about this year they were going to get back to it, but, well, we all know. Mm-hmm. So if you can show, then you would get an early favorable termination of an audit. Again, you have to prove these things for 12 months. And number 3, and this I thought was very important, it would mitigate the remedies negotiated between OCR and organizations who are reaching settlements and cap arrangements, which is generally what we see in enforcement actions anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We see way more of number 3.
Oh, yeah.
But we could start seeing more of number 1 if the civil money penalties are mitigated to a part that, we don't even have to settle. We'll just pay that.
Right.
But we're doing our part. But, we had this violation, and it might even bring it down more.
Well, this whole thing plays into the argument that we've heard for a long time, which is instead of penalizing people for not doing things, find ways to, give people attaboys for doing things right.
Yeah,
and,
carrot and stick. Carrot and stick.
We've heard that a lot. Like, what can we do to entice people to do these things? Yes. What can we do to do that? And this is, I think, the first step. I don't know that it's the final step. I hope not. But I think this is the first step, a good step in saying, look, if you do these things that you should be doing anyway, if you do these things you should be doing anyway, then there are some things that can benefit you for doing that. So I'm glad this is coming out. I'm
excited about it.
Yeah.
For so many reasons. Number 1, we've been talking about this is what you need to be doing from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to look. The first time we talked about the NIST cybersecurity framework was August 2015.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for over 5 years, we've been saying, get this done.
Yeah. NIST cybersecurity framework, that's been in our mix of the importance of using it. We've covered some other things. So let's we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves on what is the recognized security practice.
Mm-hmm.
So that the language says, this is our party part. The language says the term recognized security practices means the standards, guidelines, best practices, methodologies, procedures, and processes developed under Section 2C15 of the National Institutes of Standards and Technology Act, the approaches promulgated under Section 405D, of the Cybersecurity Act of 2015, and other programs and processes that address cybersecurity that are developed, recognized, or promulgated through regulations under other statutory authorities. Such practices shall be determined by the covered entity or business associate consistent with the HIPAA security rule.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Yeah. So part of the reason we've been saying NIST and 405D is because, and I've said this before, you don't want somebody coming in going, these are David's best practices. And unfortunately, a lot of people do that. It's like, I think this is important, so let's do this. No, we've been saying for a long time, obviously 5+ years, we've been saying follow a standardized framework. And the 2 biggest ones we pushed have been the NIST cybersecurity framework and most recently the 405D.
Yes, HICCUP. Which, you know what, this week turned 2. So it's been out 2 years. And guess what? We were talking about it. Like, it came out December 28th, and we recorded on it in January and released an episode in February, I want to say 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that, we also have talked about utilizing the SIS-20, right? We've talked about high trust. All of these things can be argued, and the high trust folks are already putting stuff out there.
Oh, yeah.
You need to pay us all that money to get high trust certified so that you can show, but certification is not required. Let's just get that right out there. There's still no certification.
Mm-hmm.
You have to prove that you are following it.
Right.
And the reason that we recommend the NIST cybersecurity framework and the 405D is you're not out there having to hire very expensive certification people and all these kinds of things. Anybody that has the desire and a little bit of understanding of technical terms can pick up these documents and the associated information. There's tons of freely available information out there.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those, the NIST CSF is what they're referring to with that 2C 15-bit. That's what directed NIST to build the cybersecurity framework for critical infrastructure industries, or whatever they originally called it.
Right.
Healthcare was one of those, which is why we were following it. That first thing, it's not just about HIPAA anymore. Look, you can do this. Well, guess what? We didn't just talk the talk, did we, David?
No. We moonwalked it.
Oh, today. So, yes, you can follow, SYS20 is available. You can download that for free. You can follow that. HITRUST is not free. Yes, they'll give you the things for free if you are doing it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But, you could make the argument about certain ISO standards and other things. If it relates to, and you got to, contact an attorney to say, can you write me up something that says, developed, recognized, or promulgated through regulations under other statutory authorities. So those are important, that it's statutory authorities. It's not random David's idea.
That's right.
Welcome to Dave's world.
Yeah. I thought it was a good idea, so I did it.
And this is why we have always based everything we've talked about and everything we've done in our businesses with our clients. We've tried to move everything towards recognizing those standards, and our opinions relate back to those recognized standards.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes, our opinions go all over the place when you want to talk about some other issues. But when you talk about cybersecurity, it is related back to that. And obviously, we're both involved with 405D. We're very excited to be part of, setting those kinds of standards that has such an impact that this could have on the industry as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the good news for our clients, which we have some together, all the card and security risk analysis and assessment reports have been referencing the NIST CSF requirements for years. If you had one from us, you look at the report, it more than likely, since about 2016, has said something about the importance of utilizing the NIST CSF, and that's why we reference it in our plans. The card and policies and procedures already, if you got our policy and procedure solution, they came with a cross-reference to the NIST CSF and included some of the basics for the framework. And people would say, but why do you want me to do this? And I say, because this is where HIPAA's going, and you're going to be ahead of the game. And they're like, but why? Can't I do it then? And the way I'd say it is, look, if you're building a house from scratch and you know that you plan on adding on a whole nother in-law suite, do you put the plumbing and everything right where you would want to add that on? Or do you put a door there? Well, we built the door. And so the policies and procedures already cross-referencing, and in a lot of ways we would be able to say, yeah, they've been following it already 12 months if you've done that work with us.
Right.
Our newly released healthcare security awareness course, the video course, built on top of 405D and HICCUP and the 5 threats and vulnerabilities. And that's already out there. You could get that today. We've taught the NIST CSF in the HIPAA boot camp since we started having HIPAA boot camp.
.com.
And it's out there. And since HICCUP came out, we started teaching it. In fact, we started teaching HICCUP before we had time to get everything. We were doing a boot camp, and we talked about this is where it's going. We just haven't seen it yet. And discussed all of those things. We also cover the SYS20 and other frameworks in the boot camp, and understanding the importance of these and why we believe they're valuable to everyone. So if you've ever been through our boot camp, you've had some training on it. And then, of course, our podcast episodes. So I made a list to send out to somebody. It's a huge list. We got 4 or 5 that are specifically on these topics. And then you have like HIC Scrim and HIC Ticker, where we reviewed that augment the NIST cybersecurity framework and hiccup by adding vendor management and some lessons learned kind of guidelines in crisis management.
So it sounds to me like all this just points to a self-professed and proclaimed absolute experts in the field, way ahead of our time in all this stuff. So
that's right.
I think the social proof is in the pudding.
Yeah. We also mentioned this when we were talking about the whole concept of HIPAA made easy. Am I going to do the very bare minimum? Well, guess what? The folks that did the bare minimum now are starting from zero, trying to figure out how to get any of this in, or they're losing out on the limitation of liability that this provides.
Yeah. Well, another thing we've said a ton in the past is compliance is not about security, and security is not compliance.
Right.
We
believe in being secure and then using that to meet your compliance obligations.
Right. So the people out there, they're going, we're looking at just making you compliant. Okay. Then that means you're not looking at the security aspect of it. If HIPAA's the floor, you're telling me, because HIPAA's compliance, right? You're telling me that I want to do the bare minimum for you. And that's what we're doing. We're shooting for the bare minimum. It still blows my mind.
Well, one of the things that, it's assessment season here. We're finishing up the last ones that need to be dated in 2020. Yes. But I have seen in recent assessments that I did where they had the templates brought in by, and you know what? There's some language in there is great. In fact, I was like, hey, I need to go look that up. I'd never read it that way. Let me go. And I was really happy to get some stuff out of some of them. But these were all people that looked at what does the law say, and they stuck it in there. And that has the breach notification requirements and the privacy rule requirements. They're fairly good. They hadn't necessarily have all the right updates, but they're fairly good. In some cases, really good. But when you go to the security rule, it's crap. It is absolute crap.
Tell us how
and
you
it's
really
people, people that know they don't understand security. And so they're basically like, here are the policies you need. You got to go figure out how to do a risk analysis and a risk management plan. But these people buy these things and they don't understand. It's clear that the people that developed them were trying to meet the requirements of the law, but don't understand anything about cybersecurity.
Yep.
It was clear.
Yeah, which happens a lot.
Yeah, we're seeing tons of that. And, that we still see it. I'm not shocked anymore when I see, although there are, but, a couple, there's one thing I saw that I'm like, seriously? That was your documentation? They just printed out the Security 101 list and
made the checks.
Yeah. Made little boxes. So it is hugely, bigly important. It is important to understand that if that's what you've been doing right now, find a way to take it up a notch if you want to take advantage of these liability limitations.
Yeah, and why would you not want to do it?
Right.
It
makes no sense to me.
No, and it's not a requirement that you do these things.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's some other points. It's not law yet.
Right.
That's a big piece we need to say.
Yeah, but you should be doing these things anyway. We say this all the time when we talk about cybersecurity, 405D. These are not things that are like, oh, this would be a good idea. You really, really should be doing these things.
Yes.
People that listen to this podcast know this. People who don't probably don't know this, but the cybersecurity landscape.
Some people haven't found us yet. We'll give them a break.
But the cybersecurity landscape and the cyber threat landscape has changed dramatically just this year.
Yes.
And
yes.
When I talk to prospects, I'm like, well, if you're doing what you did, I'd say if you're doing what you did 5 years ago. Now it's like, if you're doing what you did last year, it's not good enough anymore.
No.
And that's, we actually, one of the things we do in Security First IT is we host websites, which is not our primary thing of hosting websites. But just 2 weeks ago, I sent out an email and it was like, we are moving our websites and web hosting to a more secure platform with more security and isolation of sites and all this other stuff that we're doing. And frankly, my letter to my clients was either move or leave, because I'm not playing this game.
I don't have a choice.
I'm not playing this game. You're going to move to this, and yes, it's going to cost you more money, or find somebody else that can host it for you, because I am not playing the game. Mm-hmm. It's that serious. It's changed, and it's bad out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
people don't understand it.
No, my clients are in the castle, eating meat and drinking wine, and I'm out on the front lines with a shield and a sword, and everybody else is shooting bullets at me. And I'm like, dude, this is not good. And so, sometimes I take a frustrated stand with saying, look, I'm drawing the line. There's no option here. You're going to be on board with these things or you're not. And not means find somebody else, because I take this stuff seriously. And if you want to work with me, you're going to take it seriously too. And I know you do the same thing with your clientele. If you're not serious about it, then I am not the person for you.
No. I mean, if you're looking for check the box, I'm only going to irritate you.
Yeah.
So we do need to realize at the time we're recording this, it hadn't been signed yet, but it passed unanimously in the House and the Senate. So if in the madness that is occurring right now, it doesn't get signed, it's going to come right back up, number one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not going anywhere, especially with everything that we talked about in the beginning of the podcast with FireEye and SolarWinds
and all this stuff going on.
I read an article this morning that was an op-ed piece that somebody had written, basically saying, wake up, government, you've got to pass more legislation about cybersecurity, and you got to do more internally about it. Yeah. And so I honestly, and we haven't done our 2021 predictions episode yet.
Yeah.
But part of my predictions is going to be that 2021 is going to be, I think, the year that we start seeing cybersecurity taken much more seriously.
Well, we don't have a choice after what's occurred. I mean, we just don't. And, they took money out of healthcare budgets and reallocated it out of public health. They kept reallocating money out of public health. They've taken money out of the cybersecurity budget and reallocated it. They did that. We know that. That's got to stop.
Yeah. Well, I know for us, we're seeing until the past, I'd say the end of 2019 or so. So right before the pandemic happened, we started seeing a shift with people coming to us, clients coming to us, not asking for support, but asking specifically for security.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because before that it was, yes, I want help desk. And oh, by the way, I'm glad you got good security. Well, now it's shifted, which, hello, it's the whole reason why I changed the name of my company several years ago, because security was going to be first at some point. So now I'm seeing people come in there like, look, I want security. I want to be secure. I want to follow these frameworks. And by the way, I'm glad you got help desk. That's what it's coming to. And thank goodness, because that's where it needs to be.
Mm-hmm. And so here's some other important things to realize in the law. It's not a requirement. They can't penalize you for not doing it. So it's all positive.
We will call you names if you don't.
Well, what we'll be able to do is say, look, they didn't do this.
You'll be featured in a future episode.
But here's the thing, even if it doesn't pass now, start now. Start now, because this will be, even if you're not in healthcare, start now. Use these tools.
Yeah.
If you don't have to be in healthcare to use the 405D stuff.
Correct. Yep.
Everything in 405D can be used for any business.
Mm-hmm.
You can use SYS-20, you can use NIST CSF. All of those are readily available. And, we've focused on 405D and NIST only because of what we're in, right? And the statutory regulation piece, I don't know if the SYS-20 falls under that, but I'm certainly sure, I'm sure that lawyers can make that argument, that it's a standard, a pretty well standard.
Yeah.
Not for me to worry about, just to tell them what they need. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with NIST and 405D because it specifically mentions those.
Yeah. But dude, if you're doing SYS-20, then fantastic. Fantastic. At least you're doing something. Yeah.
Right.
'Cause I'm sure the crosswalk between the two is fairly easy to do.
It's built in.
Right.
It's built in. Everything crosswalks to NIST CSF.
Right.
And, there's even a HIPAA crosswalk to NIST CSF so that you can start doing the NIST CSF items, which is, it's why all of ours, we're doing our next update to all our policies and procedures was going to include the HICcup cross-reference, but, we already have NIST CSF. I didn't worry about getting it done quickly because they both go to CSF.
All right. So important question here.
Yes.
Is there going to be, so everybody's doing this, right? And they're got all the documentation to show they've been doing it for the past 12 months and all that. Is there a guarantee that this is a pass for enforcement?
No. It's not like a pass.
It's not a get out of jail free card.
No. Yeah. Do not pass go. None. Yeah. None. It's not. It won't make you get in more trouble, and it won't give you a free pass. What it will say is that if something goes wrong and you can prove that you are following these things and that you have been for 12 months, then it will make everything better.
It will make everything.
Yeah, it's like a character witness. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a character witness for you.
Well, by doing it, you're lowering your risk.
Yes.
By having it, you've lowered your liability.
Yes.
So,
which is part of your risk.
Right.
Yeah.
So
no, they can't penalize you for not doing it, and they can't give you a pass if you are doing it, but it can be your character witness about your intent.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Are you taking, basically they're just looking at this. Are you taking this stuff seriously?
And that's what they've always said. But this, then that became, well, what do I have to do? And, now we have very specific things to follow.
Yeah.
And for those of you who need a checklist, you go to those outcomes and those outcomes in NIST CSF and you go through it.
Yeah.
One of the things that we did is we start our policy and procedures by making sure that there's things like a policy and procedure on policies and procedures. And that we have them define, that we have management do a survey that helps us define what their NIST CSF, like our own version, if you will, of because you can adapt this, by the by. So Cardin has adapted it. So we have our own version of a current and target profile. And we do it through a survey so that people don't have to go and pick things in the NIST. They don't have to understand that. We just say, here's a survey. Yeah, and which, by the way, we do go through that survey in the HIPAA boot camp, explaining how you set the current and target profile under NIST CSF. So, those kinds of things are what you would do above and beyond those HIPAA checklists, right?
So, the HIPAA boot camp is becoming more and more valuable.
Yeah.
To get all this done because.
Yeah. Well, and we're going to roll out. We can't talk about it yet. I'll get in trouble. But probably in the next episode or so, we have to start talking about, we're going to roll out stuff that take you above and beyond the boot camp. And we're building some new stuff to help MSPs because, that came out in previous conversations. We've got to do more. And so we're building those things so that we are there to help them. And, they don't know these things, most of them. We're going to be able to get you quickly down the road. And we had already had all of these things in our plans. This just makes it so much better.
Oh, yeah.
Much more valuable. So I'm very excited about that.
But now when people say why, you can point to this instead of going, calls.
Trust me. Because you might want an in-law suite over there. That's why.
Because it's coming. Now you can be like, it's here. It's here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do think this is...
We were right. We were right.
Yeah, do the dance.
I
do think this is just the first step, though. I still think that we're going to end up seeing GDPR type stuff happening, and it's...
Oh, yeah. There's going to be more.
We're going to look at this, and to your point, when people that are already doing this, when the more regulations come, and they will, then you're like, dude, I've already been doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to, put augment this here and throw a little extra documentation into that policy. I'm still doing the things, and I can prove it. I've been doing it all along. Yeah. And that's the value that, that 12 months is not, that's going to be a reason. You know what I'm saying?
Well, for those who just starting, it's going to take 12 months just to get this stuff somewhat under control. I don't even know that they can get it done in 12 months, but we usually expect that if you come in and start working with us and commit the resources from the time we start evaluating and building your program to the time where you're like, this is awesome. I have this. I understand it. We're doing the things. Now we're just maintaining. It's about 2 years. It's about 2 years. Which is the reason why most caps are 2 years. Yeah. Wonder why. Yeah. So in the first year, though, we work on just building the framework to put everything else on top of, the whole thing. And so much of what we do in those initial rounds are, look, we want you to do this, and here's why. Yeah. I'm hoping people also understand that this is, again, not one of those end goals. It doesn't stop. Cybersecurity is not, it's not a destination. It's a journey. No. Yeah. And we've always said that. Even when we've talked about using these tools, we've said what you're doing with these checklists and just worried about compliance with HIPAA is not security. Security is where you constantly are worried about it and monitoring it and trying your best to stay on top of it. Mm-hmm. You got to keep all your business up in the castle walls. Yeah, that's right. So, but now people just wander out going, I'll be back next week, and you've got to worry about them because they are carrying all your stuff with a big wire running right back into the castle. Yeah, so it gets more and more complicated. But the good news is it is that incentive to do these things, number one. And the other thing that you might want to keep in mind, we're going to have John Miller, our resident insurance specialist, join us again. He's gotten to where we have him at the beginning of the year, every year now. And we had already scheduled to have him. I mean, I'd been working out our schedules with the holidays for a while, and we're going to interview him in a couple of weeks. And guess what? We're going to talk to him about. Do you think insurance? Yeah, because we already knew the reason we were having him on is there's the coverage folks are having to deal with this, and they're looking at what do we do to protect our risk when we insure you. And with that in mind, we'll have even more to discuss with John about. We know that the questions on these applications are becoming more and more specific. Not just do you follow HIPAA security? Right. And with this, you can bet your britches that you can't just say, I'm insured, they'll cover it anymore, because they're going to want to start seeing
that you can limit the liability.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, we're going to be talking to John. We're going to understand the impact it could have on your cybersecurity insurance policy. Yeah, we'll still cover you. It's just going to cost more.
Yeah. I'm actually hoping for that because there again, that's yet another incentive. You know, if you're doing these things, you're following this, doing it for 12 months, whatever the case might be, then your insurance is cheaper.
Yeah.
Again,
and all that isn't going to happen overnight. No. But you know what? You got to start now so that when it does happen, you're ready because the 12 months.
Exactly.
So you might be on a program with them that says you're committing to doing it. And, you know, because of that, you get a certain rate. And then once you can prove you're doing it, you get another rate, you know, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
But, and we, you know, definitely have Eric back on once some of this settles down to talk about the impact that 405D folks that we can now have. Mm-hmm. And you and I better get doing our homework he assigned us. I already started on mine. I know you haven't. That's why I had to say it.
Uh-huh. I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
That's all right.
There you go.
Do you see the tracks on my face? Just threw me under the bus. Tire tracks.
Yeah. So the good news for us and the reason we're so excited is this is stuff we've been doing all along.
Mm-hmm.
And it was stuff that we were going to do more with in 2021 that were already in the plans before this actually moved from some dusty corner of the digital legislative system.
Yeah. Lots of good stuff. So,
yeah. So start tuning in, folks, because we're going to have some really, I'm really excited about the stuff. I was excited about what we were planning anyway. Now I'm really excited about what we are able to, the value, you know, because David and I run businesses. We worry about, am I providing value? Mm-hmm. And this makes me feel like, okay, now I can point to above and beyond value. And I'm really excited about it. Very proud of where we are and what we built.
Yep.
And now we've got a little bit of pressure to be right on our 2021 predictions. But
we've tried hard since you and I met each other. We've always tried hard to not be the minimum service providers, not do check the box, always go above and beyond. And so it's nice to not just feel that, but also be able to see proof that that's what people are wanting.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to look into the future and, predict where we need to direct people, because that's our job is to try to protect and have you prepared for where we go next. So very excited. Congratulations, David. And, I know how much it means to you to be right.
Yes. Happens so frequently now, I don't even notice.
Ooh, maybe that's our next. Instead of the stay out of my breeches.
Yeah.
Instead of that, we need to get we were right.
Yeah. Well, I've told this, I think, on a episode probably 2-3 years ago, but my wife had me a shirt made that said #David is right.
Yeah. Well, this is our only celebration. After this will be, holy crap, there's so much to do.
Oh, I know. No kidding.
Yeah. But we're excited about reducing liability, having incentives to get people down the road that we know we need to do to protect patients.
Yeah. And if you've not done anything, then don't freak out. Just start.
Yeah.
Just start at the beginning.
Yeah. Just like we always say, there's never a good time to start. Let's do it now.
And there's always a bad time to stop. Yeah, get started. And if you need help, you have us. Call Carden. Come to the boot camp. There's resources everywhere.
Yeah, we're loaded with them. We're gonna start providing. By the time this comes out, we'll have some resource pages up and some other stuff. So, and we're probably going to do a webinar explaining what it all means. And I don't know. We're going to do a bunch of stuff. I was just trying to wait until it actually got signed. So that kind of matters.
Yep. All right.
Either way, we know it's happening. So get on it now. If it doesn't come now, it'll happen soon.
Yep. So you've been warned.
There you go.
All right, folks, that is our show for today. Remember to follow us and share us out on your favorite social media site. Visit our YouTube channel if you want to see our pretty faces. And rate us on our podcasting app. Leave a review. Thanks again for the review we got. And keep sending those in because we love reading them. I tell you, I always marvel at our listeners because they have the same sense of humor we have, and they get a kick out of it too. So thanks for being a loyal listener. And make sure you catch us next week as we have yet another new episode. And remember, HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.